It's been a while since I've shot my compound. As you can see, it's covered in plenty of dust and cobwebs. And I've got a new set of strings that I desperately need to put on this bow. The stock set is completely shot out, and I am very excited to be able to shoot this compound a little bit more. It's been something that I've been looking at on the wall, and I'm finally going to tackle that project today. So like I said there in the intro, I've had this Hoyt Spider 34 for a long time now. I've actually considered replacing it with a one of the more modern bows or the newer bows, but man, they are just so expensive. I guess so is recurve stuff when you got to buy risers and limbs, but still, can't really justify the cost at the moment. So what I'm going to do is restring this bow today, because if you check out the cam here, the string right there as it rolls off the cam, see that serving is separated like crazy. My draw length has gotten really long on this bow. Both cams, right where that sharp edge is over the edge of the cam there, the serving is separating a lot on the top and the bottom. So my draw length is way off, and the stock strings are garbage. So I'm surprised they've lasted me this long, to be honest, because I can even see actually looks like a serving is broken as well down here, one of the cables. So yeah, long overdue. So I ordered a set of stock strings essentially from 60X, and I'm going to put them on the bow. Hopefully they stretch them enough so I don't have to break them in and shoot them. I just want to get it tuned up and be able to go shoot some arrows again with this thing and enjoy it. So basically what I'm going to do in this video is restring this bow, get it timed back up again, get all the accessories bolted on, and go paper tune it with a set of arrows that I've got, because I want to be able to shoot this thing, a few different reasons. I want to make sure it's ready to go when I want to use it, but also the Kaminski Archery Backyard Championships is going on. We have it open for compounds. I've got a compound. I need to shoot some rounds for it, and I can't when it's in such disarray. Plus the draw length's way off. So got my last chance archery power press here, and I'll explain to you what I'm doing all along the way, and hope you enjoy it. Probably do things one at a time. It's been a while since I've restrung a bow, and I don't want to lose the routing of the cables and all that. Everything came on a paper clip, which is nice, so it keeps everything twisted up where it's supposed to be. Start with the string. Now that I've got the string off, you can really see how much this thing has stretched out on me. Stock strings are garbage. They need to stretch them. They don't pre-stretch them, at least that I can tell. I think I'm gonna wait to put the Peep in. Cable had an end serving that was broke, as you can see. Actually, I think I'll probably shoot it a few shots before I put a Peep in. That'll help set everything in place a little bit better. Alright, new set of strings on my bow. I didn't pick the colors, I just went with the ship's fastest color, fastest possible. Similar cam lean, so I'm going to be close, I think, on my tune. I don't think it's going to need a ton. Timing's way off, but that's alright. Get the timing a little closer, and then I'll put it on the draw board and get it dead nuts. Good habit to make sure everything's still in the track before going to pull it back. Went the wrong way. Actually, I think it's pretty close. The top's touching just before the bottom now. So I'm gonna get a D-loop tied on this thing. Get the rest hooked up so I can shoot some shots because I want the strings and everything and the cables to get settled down into place. Camline looks really good, like where it was before, and it's straight at full draw, so it should be really, really close to where I want it to be. Bottom cam's still straight. I shimmed that when I first got the bow to make it really dead straight. So overall, I think the bow's pretty close to just being workable as it is. Probably gonna have to replace, yeah, I'm gonna have to replace the actual string because it's too short. Because they served it a little bit longer down, so it won't quite work. So I'm gonna have to replace that, tie the D-loop on, shoot some shots, check the timing, get the peep in, all that jazz. Lots of stuff to do today. Get my D-loop cut first so that way it can rest. 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches. Alright, I got my ends burned on my D-loop. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to use, to tie a knocking point on, I like to use 3D material actually a little bit more than I like to use anything else. It's a little more small, more manageable. The knots seem to hold a little bit better, and it also just burns nice. So I really like BCY 3D material for doing knocking points. I've got my DOA set up to its stop position, and I'm going to tie what I consider movable knocking points that I can spin up and down on the serving. So I only like the one on the bottom because when I'm at full draw with the D-loop, with just one indicator on the bottom, it actually makes the string flat relative to the arrow. So now I'm going to do my best to remember how to tie on a D-loop because it's been a while, so I'm going to use this one here as a reference. A little shorter than what I want, but it is on. There, that looks a little better now that I stretched it in a little bit. Lock it in place. Now, gotta get my DOA line to line up so that way it drops too much. Alright, so that'll work because now I've got my lines to line up here. Essentially, I've got to get this spot on the ball, the cam, I guess, whatever you want to call it. See if I can get this thing to focus here. There you go. See how there's lines here? There's 2 lines. I got to get this milled line that's right there to go basically between the 2 lines like that. So that way when the rest is in the up position, I come to full draw. And then when I shoot, the rest falls, clearing the veins. So I'm going to leave this tied in, or not tied in, but kind of just sitting here like this for now because as I'm tuning, I may need to move the rest up or down to adjust things, and if I move that up and down, then my timing, or whatever you want to call this, draw length is going to be different. So what I'll do now is I'm going to shoot a few shots, kind of get the strings and cables bedded in, get them a little bit, a little bit more shock to them to get them to set into place before I finalize the timing, and then head outside after I bolt everything on and shoot this thing through some paper. So I picked out some arrows that I had laying around. I've got some 400 torches, which are basically Axis 400s, I believe. Got a new release here from Stan for me that I got. I bought Joel Turner's release, the clicker, the Onnex Clicker, I believe is what it's called, right? Is that what? Yeah. This is what I got here, this heavy metal Onnex Clicker. And yeah, I'm excited to try this and actually put it to the test and shoot some arrows out of this thing because I like the idea of the 2-stage click. All right, I think I got this thing set up. It's got travel till it clicks, and then it's keep going, right? So, first shots with this. Let's see how it goes. Much shorter drawing. Yeah, that feels actually pretty good. Not shot it before, not with a real bow. I don't even think I've tried it with a string before. So definitely a lot on the first shot, but went well. All right, so that was 6 shots. I'm gonna probably shoot another end or two and continue to shoot a little bit more, get these strings and cables a little bit more bedded in. Still a little advanced on the bottom. Alright, so the top is advanced a smidge, which is where I had it set last time. When the top is touching, the moment the top touches, I've got like under a 1/16 of an inch to go on the bottom, so I'm calling that good. Now that I got the peep in, I am going to draw it back a few times and try to get the peep roughly close in the height, then worry about the rotation. That's pretty close. The rotation's way off. I'm going to tie it in right there because it's actually pretty good. I think I will be able to work with this until the string stretches in fully and everything kind of beds in entirely how it's supposed to. I think that's good enough for now. So I'm going to tie that in and I'll take you outside and get a little bit more comfortable with this Onnex clicker here because it's definitely very different compared to what I'm used to, but I like the idea a lot. Finally outside after all that, got the peep tied in and I have a cardboard box from the post office and cut a hole through it, and then taped on a piece of computer paper, and then taped that whole thing onto a grounding rod, which is stuck in the ground here in front of my target. And so I'm going to stand roughly, like, I don't know, 6 feet or so away from it. So everything should go pretty quick, and this should not take long here today to get this thing paper tuned. Get a little adjustment there. I'm going to stand about here or so. Like I said, I'm probably 6 feet or so away from the actual paper. Pretty close. Looks to me like a little bit of a left tear. I'm going to show you here now. Check it out. So you'll see the point looks like it entered on the right edge, and then the knock is slightly off to the left side. So really, really close. I don't have much to adjust here. Just a tiny bumping of the arrow rest, just slightly to the right, hopefully. It also looks maybe a little knock high. Pretty similar, maybe a little better. Definitely still slightly knock high, so I'm going to slide the rest down, no, up a little bit, because that is the biggest error so far, is in the vertical plane. That looks pretty good. All right, I think, let me show you here. So I started on the far right and then went to the middle, and then I just shot the shot on the left. That's just about a bullet hole. So do that again. I like to do it at 2 different distances, roughly at 6 and then maybe 12 or so feet. I like to get 2 snapshots, because that's what a piece of paper is telling you. It's just like a snapshot in space of what the arrow is doing at that particular distance from the bow. Just a tiny, tiny bit of knock high tear there. I'm gonna bump it up just a small amount more. Okay, I think that is a bullet hole, so I'm gonna pull the arrows and we'll go back a couple more feet and verify that I still have a good tune here. Usually when I get the big tear out up close, when I go back a little bit further, it's usually pretty dialed, but sometimes I need to make further tweaks from here. I'm not an expert when it comes to tuning a compound, but you know, I can get it set up pretty much good enough to at least shoot the arrows with really good arrow flight. I've never fine-tuned a bow or tried to make it shoot better groups, but I try to get the arrow flight as naturally straight as possible out of the bow. Nope, I hit high. I should have shot an arrow through at the bail to figure out where I'm hitting, so. Maybe a tiny amount point low, but I'm going to shoot one more, and then I'll take you up there and show you it. let's take you up there. Yeah, I think maybe a tiny bit point low still. So bump it up just a small amount more. Seems like it's slightly knock low now, so I'm right in between the two settings. I just need to make that small adjustment, I suppose. I'm gonna shoot one more just to verify. That first shot didn't feel very good. My anchor was kind of off a little bit. The Peep was centered, but something felt funny, so I'm gonna discount that first shot. I'm gonna pull the arrows and do that again. The last shot had a huge knock right tear. I don't know if I did something funny. I broke my pinky and ring finger recently, and that's all I've got with my range of motion right now. So I'm definitely variable in my hand placement and the grip. Usually I'm a lot more consistent than this, but I'm gonna go pull them and shoot another arrow or two through the paper. That looked pretty good. That's that same arrow. I think there's something wrong with that arrow tearing way knocked right. All right, take it down there. I think things look pretty good, at least as good as I'm gonna get them today. This one was a good one from the end before, and then I followed it up with this one, which you can see it's way knock right. There's that same arrow that went way knock right as well. But that one's pretty good, that one's pretty good, and that one's pretty good. So little point low, pretty much a bullet hole, maybe a slightly point to the left. So showing me that I'm really, really close as far as my paper tune is concerned. So what I'm gonna do next is make sure that I can actually group decently. And what I would do at this point normally is I'd throw a practice broadhead in and go back to distance and see if it's grouping the same. If I'm still grouping the same and I've got this kind of arrow flight, generally I would normally call it done. But because I'm working on setting this up for some tournament stuff, at least to shoot a score at 20 yards and 50 meters. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna throw target face up, go back to 20 yards and kind of get that top pin dialed in for 20 yards and see how the arrow flight looks from back there. I'm gonna shoot one in the middle of the bale and see how my yardage is to start. Way high. So, good thing I did that. Definitely want to dial this release in. It's got a little travel after the click, and I do not like travel at all. At least it feels like there is. But that could just be me anticipating it going off, more likely. No, I can feel it moving. I think I'm sighted in. So I'm gonna get 2 arrows in there. Okay, take you down there and show you what I'm working with. Overall, I think the bow shoots pretty good, as is. I don't think I need to do anything else at this point. All right, so overall, I mean, after I got the sight moved, because this arrow up here I was aiming about here, hit really high, cranked the sight, and then that was my first arrow, second arrow, third arrow, and then the last 2 after not moving my sight. So you know, I was sitting a little bit on the right side of the 10 ring when the last one went off, and that's why I hit slightly to the right. But I mean, the bow is shooting just fine. I need some time to get comfortable with this release, because it definitely feels like after the click there's a little bit of travel, or I can feel the pressure changing in the button. It's like it gets less as it's getting close to firing, unless it's moving. I'm not sure. So I got to play with it a little bit to get more comfortable with it, but overall I really like it. I mean, it's the best shooting that I've done with the thumb button in a long time, that I can actually put my thumb on, and you know, just working through the shot process of talking to myself to keep squeezing gently, and then eventually the thing will fire after that, you know, after that safety click, right? So the first few times the click was a bit odd. You know, I've shot in back tension releases with the click on it, and I've never really had an issue. It's actually how I started shooting a back tension release, was with the click, long before I ever even shot recurve. So it's always funny to me about people, how they're like, well, don't let go of the release when it clicks. Yeah, I mean, some recurve shooters do that because, you know, they're used to a clicker clicking and letting go of the arrow, but obviously when you're shooting a release, you don't want to do that. So yeah, I'm happy that I took the time, got some new strings on my bow, got it dialed in good enough to where I can, you know, get to practicing with the compound a little bit more, because I'd like to spend a bit more time honing my skills with compound. I am interested in grabbing a newer bow, or maybe a secondhand used bow. So maybe somebody out there has got something that's a bit in my spec range. 28.5 inch draw length, I believe, is what this is set to. Yeah, 28.5 inch draw length, which feels pretty good to me, I think. So I'd be interested in getting one of the newer bows and checking that out at some point. But for now, this will run just fine. It's set to probably 65 pounds, something like that, 60 to 70 pound limbs. And I'm not quite maxed out, but pretty close. So somewhere in that range is definitely something I might be interested in for those out there that might have something they want to let go of. Let me know. Shoot me an email. But yeah, so I'm going to continue playing with the compound. I'll generate some more content with the compound. If you're interested, please comment below. Let me know what you're interested in. This is definitely something that is not something that I'm an expert at. I've hung out with a lot of the world's best compound shooters, asking them how they tune and set up their bows. So I've got a rough idea as to how to do these things. Normally, I would, you know, set my rest in the center shot wise, and then lean the cam more to get my bullet hole good left and right. But I didn't have to move the rest but a tiny amount to get the tear done to 0 here at 6 feet or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited to actually spend some more time shooting my compound. Real quick, if you are interested in any of the gear that I've used in this video, I will have links down in the description below. Those are affiliate links. Ultimately, it helps support this channel when you click those links before you do shop there. And I have a handful of discount codes down in the description below as well for a few different places. One of those being the Push Archery for something like their back pocket quiver here that I was rocking in the video. And there's all sorts of other ways that you can help support the channel. Check out the links down in the description. Thanks for watching.